probably when I started thinking like seriously about what I wanted to do with my life. The main reason for this was the opportunity of being in customer service at a job that I did not like, because I was basically sitting down every day and getting frustrated by people. It was affecting me in every possible way. I learned a lot of patience, though, alhamdulillah. Like I said, in retrospect, you look at the things that you've picked up. So I learned about how to deal with human beings during the customer service period, how to be patient, being able to teach people how to do things like use their phones, send a text message. It was very basic stuff that today is so easy. Even a 2-year-old can do it. And then I saw this job opportunity, and that's where a leap of faith comes in. At the time, I wasn't even up to a supervisor, and this job opportunity was for management, to be a manager. I remember talking to my supervisor at the time saying, everything that's listed in this job requirement, I think I can do it. And she laughed at me. Today she looks back and she's like, wow, like you really made that move. I said, you know what, I'm going to apply. So I went ahead to apply, not thinking, I read it in the newspaper, not thinking there's a possibility I will get this. But I even said, you know what, let me even see what these interviews are like, calculating the future. So I went for this interview, and there was a set of people from South Africa. And I remember deep down in my heart saying, dear God, like, if you really feel I'll be able to do this, just make this work for me, make this smooth. I get there and I hadn't even filled out the forms, and they almost threw me out. Please be reminding me of time so that when I get to my timeline, I can slow down. So I went in, I did the interview, and I remember them asking me, so why should we hire you, right? And I said, no, why should I work for you? I believe I can do this. I believe I have value to add. I believe I understand the Nigerian system way more than you that is even interviewing me. And I was very confident, but deep down inside, I was shaking. And we did this interview. I went back to my regular work. A couple of months passed, and I get a call. And they said, sorry, unfortunately, you didn't make it. We really, really liked you. And we believe that the guy who called, who was South African, felt he had seen something in me that could keep going. So he's like, I don't want you to lose hope. Your confidence was very captivating, and I feel you should continue trying. Maybe in the near future, another opportunity will open up. So I gave up, and I laughed because I felt, okay, I had learned something from that interview. A couple of days later, I get a call. The lady that they had chosen, who was a lawyer, it was for HR and admin job. They said she declined the job after, because she had gotten another opportunity. And they didn't have anybody else. They looked through the files of those they had interviewed, and they felt I could still take it on, but they can't give me that manager. I will be a deputy manager and work with someone else. I couldn't believe it. The job was excellent at the time. There was vehicle allowance, transport, dressing allowance, accommodation. There was phone credit. I think even at that time, I started off at like 30,000 naira a month. And by the time I left, it was like 100,000 naira. I had everything you could think of that you would do in a job. But this is also when I was pregnant. So I didn't even tell them that I was pregnant, because I thought they're just going to say this young lady wants to come and now request for leave just after a couple of months. I said to myself, Aisha, you will go, you will do this. You will ensure that you add so much value that they won't be able to sack you. And I just took that leap of faith and took the job. And I really did think that I had someone that would guide me. I get there and there was no manager. They decided they're not hiring any more people. I had to come up with an HR plan. I did not study human resources, clearly. I was a communicator who happens to have experience in customer service. So I had to go and learn. I had 1 month to start the job. I started looking for HR documents from different firms. I looked at what was best amongst them. I did not say to myself, this is overwhelming, I can't do this. I went out of my way to ensure that I had a document prepared. I said, highest, they would say to me, this is terrible. and throw me out, excuse me. But they looked at it and they said, this is world class. Why? Because I had looked for all the international firms that I could think of in Nigeria, because most Nigerian firms didn't really work with an HR or admin policy. And I now put it into who I was based on the experience of where I was working and the HR managers that I was dealing with. I was like, how else would I make it easier for the people that are working using this HR document? So I changed a couple of things. And alhamdulillah, they looked at it. They thought it was awesome. They compared it to other things in South Africa, because it was an interim firm. Like, people were handling it to hand over to the Nigerians. And that's how my job started. I was there for like 2 years. And remember, I told you I had my plans. I wanted to do my master's and I wanted to follow this line that I had basically been thrown off for a couple of years. So at the time, I had 2 children under the age of 3. I was working full time. I was still in love with my photography. So I sat down and I thought, how best could I make this happen without killing myself? Because I needed to make time for my family, right? And this job was so exhausting. There were times that I would have to be at the office till 1 a.m. because we only had 13 staff. But yet it was trying to be on an international scale. And there I am with 2 children and a husband to take care of, family, a house. These are all the things that I didn't have prior to this job. And I really was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. It's either I give up, which I didn't want to do. So I saw this opportunity of doing my master's. Why? I was told I needed to move to head office to Lagos. They liked me that much that they wanted me to run things from Lagos office. Unlike now, most offices had head office in Lagos. I had a full-blown panic attack. I remember calling my I'm missing out on the lives of my children. Can you hear me? Someone says I can no longer hear it. Okay.
Yes, we can hear you now. You're back. And then we have like 3 minutes to round off, please.
I have how many minutes?
Like 3 minutes to round off.
Okay. So anyway, like I said, so I decided, okay, I'm going to take this opportunity, go to school. I sent my kids to my mom. Can you hear me? Okay, so I sent my kids to my mom. I went to Lagos. I would fly home every Thursday, go back every Sunday, while also being in school after class. For me, I just didn't want to fail. I wanted to be able to make time with my family. When I sat down and was reaching the point of burnout, my mental health was really, I was going mad in the sense that I felt everybody was looking up to me. I still needed to take care of my family. I decided, you know what, I have this skill. I realized that in northern Nigeria, we didn't have these stories being told. We had people coming up with our stories that were just wrong. You had international photographers coming down to look at us from the sense of oppression, poverty, and I felt there was a major gap there that I could fill, even though people hadn't started paying for that at the time. I just said to myself, like I said, not every opportunity is a blessing. I'm going to take this leap of faith and drop this job, focus on my family, and I changed my hours. So I would book my photography sessions from that we spend time with them. And when everybody was asleep was when I would edit. Then wake up in the morning and start all over again. So when Kami and they think, oh, she's done so well. I made so many sacrifices about how it worked for me. How it was you can't win, you can't be all. You can't You can't always have everything at the same time. There are times your work will suffer, and I'm saying this clear and clear about what you're doing, knowing that I need to make time for everybody. I need to make time for myself. I need to be able to do these things without breaking down. Then there's this level of balance. I had lost my dad in 2001, and Islam, for me, I grew up, my mother was Christian till I was 14. My father was a Muslim. He never forced her to do anything, but when she decided to become a Muslim, she came with this energy that till today, if you see her, you will not believe how much faith she has and how much she prays and how much she believes in Allah. But because I didn't have that extremely strong background, when my dad died in 2001, I started thinking, but really, if God was truly there for me, why would my father die, right? And it takes falling into these really hard situations to understand that God is still there. Life will keep going on. We all have our time. We're here for a certain period. You just need to do the best that you can, empower people as much as you can, motivate as much as you can. And trust me, if you're looking at solutions in whatever it is you're doing in your life, don't focus on that problem. When you're looking at those solutions and you sit down and you tell God, listen, I see this and I know that this is possible. Sometimes just saying it out loud, writing it down, opens up so much for you that when everything starts falling in place, you know it is not you. You know problems. That's how I became the media aide to the governor. At the time that new media was not a topic, an office was created for me to be able to achieve based on the value that I said I could drop, right? And it's the same for even the job that I'm in now. Digital comm strategy was not something that existed within the ministry. So you should be able to look at things, itemize it in a way. And if you speak to people after praying, because there's still a lot of work after praying, you have to be able to put in that work and say that I know my value system. I know that I can achieve this. Just like Queen Bee, when she spoke to me about Dare to Inspire. I remember the thought processes and you thinking, okay, who am I to do this? But I want to do this and I know that I will be able to inspire people. And here we are today. People are being inspired by you. People are being on a platform. I've never met Mariam Lemu, but I've known about her over the years, and mainly because you're adding value in a system that people just look at problems, And so for me, when I say cutting through the noise, there is so much that will stop you from doing what you can in this life. As a woman, you will be constantly told the many things that you cannot do. That one, be rest assured, everybody around you, family, friends, people that you meet will tell you what you cannot do. But you have to be strong enough to have the faith in yourself, to believe in yourself, to have that clarity, to say, I know I can do this. With God by my side, there's nothing that I cannot do. I'm not a motivational speaker, and I'm saying this based on my life. So with that, I think my time is up. I want you to just remember that do not allow the noise take over. Take the time, be clear, pray, do istihara, and God will definitely open up the way for you without you even having to lift a finger. So alhamdulillah, thank you so much for having me. And I really do hope that someone here does get inspired by my short talk. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Well, I am inspired. You said you're not a motivational speaker, but you just motivated us to be better. Yeah, so I picked, yes, of course, I picked 3 major things from what you just, telling us your story. Be bold. And that's what a lot of people, some people shy away from doing that. Oh, I'm not qualified enough for this. I don't have the, degree to support this. So they don't take that leap of faith. It told us to be bold. It told us to also put yourself in a box. Don't box yourself as a person. Always go out there, look for the next thing. Stretch yourself enough so that you can know your potential, basically. And then don't just rely on prayers. Yes, prayers can do a lot of things, but you have to do the work as well. And another thing I learned, I think there are 4 now. And then you say you're not a motivational speaker, but I learned 4 major things. Don't focus on the problem, focus on the solution. Don't focus on, and I think that's really wonderful. A lot of us, we dwell on the problem. Oh, things are not working well. How would I go about this? What would I do? Rather than actually seeking solution. So thank you so much for that. Amazing. You shared your story and it really inspired us. In fact, a lot of people are dropping comments. I am inspired. Thank you so much for that. May Allah continue to reward you abundantly. And if you have questions for her, if you have questions for our speaker that you want her to answer, kindly drop them in the chat box so I could take them now and then she could answer. But I have a question personally. I have a question. So my question basically is, as I said, a lot of us find ourselves dwelling on the problems. How can we snap out of it? Because that's something that draws a lot of people back when there's an issue. We just want to keep on staring at the problem. But how do we snap out of it and tell ourselves it's time to snap out?
Okay, so this question is to me, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I think for me, remember when we talk about faith? Faith is not something, sometimes you just don't have it, right? And I feel over the years, I told you, my father died and I really gave up. And sometimes random people just speaking to you can give it back to you, and which is why being good is very important, being able to give that positive word. I had a lecturer in my university who just saw that I was different. I'm a very smiley person, and after my dad died, I really didn't have any life in me, so to say, because I was very close to him. So he sat me down and he said to me at the time that it may not make sense to you now, but you have to find the strength within yourself to move on. Life happens, and whether you like it or not, it is going to go on. People will still be happy. People will eat their food. People will go to sleep, even though your dad is not here. And over the years, you will learn to understand that. Another time that I had this break in faith was during the Dana crash, because I knew 14 people on the flight. So that got to me all over again. So I think whether you like it or not, there will always be good and bad times in life. And once you know that, what I do is I look at the sunrise and the sunset. I do a lot of photography, sunrise and sunset. And I remember the day that I said to myself, Aisha, how you will regain faith is to remember that there is a sunrise and there's sunset, and it is so beautiful. And it is a reminder to me every day that God is there and time keeps going. And the worst of today will probably be the best of tomorrow. So that has worked for me. I don't know about everybody else, but I look at the sunset every time I'm driving back home or even from my window, and I say, how do you look at something so beautiful and think there isn't a God, and think that this life where we are here is permanent? Even the sun is not permanent 24/7. But when it's rising and it's setting, God has made this beautiful piece of art for you to see on a daily basis, every day. So I use that for me personally to regain my faith. And it's a daily thing. And I think the reason we have 5 daily prayers is that constant reminder that things may be worse between Asr and Maghrib. But it's a reminder. It's a reminder that you have to constantly remember that it's not just about having God, but knowing that things will keep going and it can never get worse. Even when it gets worse, it will always get better, one way or the other. It only ends when we die. It only ends when we die. So be like me. Use the sunrise and sunset. Use the clouds, the trees, the beautiful green that you see. Use the children that you see around you, that they're crying 1 minute, like they are so hurt. And the next minute, they're laughing away like nothing has happened. So I learn from my children. I call myself a lifelong learner. My children, sunrise, sunset, not just my children, children all over the world. Just look at that and remember that this is who you were before life's troubles, and just put yourself mentally back in that space. I think that's how it will work. Thank you.
All right, Jazakallah khairan. Thank you so much for that. So I'll read out some of the comments that we have here. So these, as Sunny said, profound. We have Balakis Yusuf. She said, I'm inspired. Moyoluwa O says, I am indeed inspired by your words. A lot of people are so inspired. I can see I'm inspired. I have Aisha. Okay, I have who else is here that I can see? Aisha Seriki, you're really inspiring. Then from Lawal Koya, she said, Jazakumullah khairan to you also. Then we have Marina Oshoba. She said, so young but so inspiring. Thank you. I am tired of hearing that we can do and have it all. Sometimes you have to prioritize. Bintu says, I'm really very impressed and inspired. Alhamdulillah. So thank you so much. You really inspired a lot of people today, though you say you're not a motivational speaker. Thank you so much. May Allah continue to reward you. Thank you so much for that. So that was our first speaker, Aisha Obi. If you didn't join in earlier while she was speaking, let me just give you some briefs to take away from that. Don't put yourself in the box. Be brave and take that lead. Also, don't focus on the problem, rather focus on the solution. Don't just rely on prayer. Do the hard work as well. May Allah continue to guide her and be with her in all our endeavors. Amen. All right, so now we'll move on to the next speaker. Another speaker. I'm sure we have probably that 10 minutes. So I've been asking for questions, but so far, let me see if there are new questions because I can see some new pop-ups. So there's no questions, just a lot of people saying they're really inspired and they're happy with the lecture. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Jazakallah khairan. All right, so now we'll move on to the next speaker. And she's the person of Lola Yunus. So to the next speaker, Lola Yunus will be taking us through the topic, rethinking your career or business under a new norm. Rethinking your career or business under a new norm. And the person is Lola Yunus. So I'll be reading out the profile for those of you who don't know who she is. I'll be reading out her profile for us to see who she is. Okay, so Lola Yunus, she's the founder of Lola Yunus Coaching, LYC, a training and development company that empowers impact-driven and ambitious professionals to thrive in their personal and professional life through coaching and training. Lola is also a qualified lawyer with 10 years experience. In the last 7 years, she has worked for different multinational companies in London as a corporate governance consultant. She recently pivoted in her career by setting up her own company while also working part-time as a business lecturer at a college in the UK. She lives with her family in England. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, sis. That was amazing. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I almost didn't recognize who you were talking about. So just have to like her for that. Before I start speaking, I would like to share my slides, if that's okay. So could I share the slides I have? Because I've updated it from what you have. Is that okay?
Yes, please. Yes, go ahead.
All right, thank you so much. Firstly, Bumi and Dare to Inspire Team, thank you so much for having me. I am super excited to be here. It's always an honor and a privilege to speak with sisters back home because I live in England, it's far away from home. So I'm always honored, and particularly this year because it's virtual, I get to speak with sisters all over the world. So alhamdulillah, Jazakallah khairan for having me. Today's topic, as you already said, is rethinking your career or business under a new norm. So before we go into it, I always like to do something, if you allow me, to get to know the participants. I see we have a lot of people here. So to everybody here, if that's okay with you, what's your name? Where are you joining us from today? My name is Lola Yunus, and I'm joining from England, Milton Keynes. It's bright, it's sunny. When there's sun, we're happy. So tell me, use the chat box, what's your name? Where are you joining us from today? And I won't be able to read all of it, but I want to know, where are you joining us from? And let us know. Queen B, thank you for being here. And so before we go into the topic itself, some of you know, if you follow me on Instagram, you know how I'm passionate about career, about doing purposeful work, what that has meaning. Because guess what? We're all here to contribute. Our work, I genuinely believe that listening is part of our reason for being. We're here to worship Allah ultimately. But I think that the work we do is a way we can use our work to worship Allah. When we say career, what comes to your mind? The topic is rethinking your career or business. And I always like to start things with introduction and definition. Sorry, that's me being a lecturer here. But it's just important that we're very clear that when we say career, what exactly are we talking about? So for the purpose of this conversation, I do have about 15 minutes to share some ideas with you. And I hope that at the end of this 15 minutes, I'm able to inspire you, inshallah, I'm able to challenge you. I'm able to empower you. I'm able to motivate you to start to rethink your career, to start to rethink the kind of work life that you want. But first, when you hear the word career, what comes to your mind? I want to see some of your response, and then we'll move on. Miriam is joining us from Lagos. Oh, Alif, Zulia, Tadiza, thank you so much, sisters. So what comes to your mind when you hear the word career? What comes to your mind when you hear the word career? I want to see one person respond to that, and then we'll move on. Because for the purpose of this conversation, when we say career, I'm referring to whatever you do that you get paid to do. It's not just your salary job. A lot of times when we say career, we usually default to, oh, it's my day job. Therefore, what I'm selling on Instagram is not part of my career. Or that YouTube channel that I want to monetize is not part of my career. No. For the purpose of this conversation, I want us to reframe that definition. Career means whatever it is that you do for work that you get paid to do. That is a career. So it's important that we have that before we go on. It's not just your salary job. If you're selling something on Instagram, if you're giving value and getting paid, that is a career. But when we then say rethink, when Bumi and I spoke and she said rethink, I said, oh, that's an interesting one. What does it mean to rethink your career? Because I have been rethinking my career since I left law school. My first job in 2008 at Josie Adiogu in Street, Victoria Island, Lagos. I was working for an investment company. Earning the kind of salary, I grew up in Ilorin. So for some of you that know Ilorin well, most of our parents were civil servants. And here I was, young out of law school, earning salary that was more than what my mom and dad earned in a month. And I'm like, okay, what kind of career do I have? But I have been rethinking my career since I left law school. And I'll suggest to you that you start to rethink your career zone. But firstly, what does it mean to rethink? According to the dictionary, rethink means to think again about a plan, idea, system in order to change or improve it. That is the key here. In order to change or improve it. So you're not just rethinking your career, you're thinking about it in the sense that what change can I make? How can I improve it? Is this career serving me? Is this work I'm doing serving me? Why? This COVID time, a lot of us has had time to pause and reflect and ask ourselves those deep questions. What is this career doing for me? How is this serving me? And I would encourage all of you to start thinking about it if you haven't. And then I'll ask you a question. Use the chat box to interact if that helps. Should you rethink your career? What if you have a job that, you're a high flyer at work, your salary is great? Should you rethink your career? Should you rethink it? Those are fundamental questions each of us should be asking ourselves. But before you get to the point where you're rethinking, remember we said rethink is you're thinking about something because you want to change, you want to improve. To do that, I would encourage you to first ask yourself this question. What kind of professional are you? What kind of professional are you? And let's move on. In order for you to rethink, in order for you to change something and improve something, you are redesigning your career in a way that fits who you are. And I've come up with three kinds of professional. I call them secured, free spirits, and hybrid. And what do I mean? From the picture, you can tell the lady who likes a secured professional. A secured professional is somebody that they love their paycheck. Oh my God. They're not prepared to take any risk. You're not interested. You're looking at people on Instagram selling and you're like, what are they looking for? That's your mindset because you probably love what you do, hopefully. Or maybe you don't love it, but you're so secured in the comfort of that salary that you're not prepared to step out of your comfort zone. That is a secured professional. A lot of our husbands and brothers are like that, if you ask me. Men are generally like that. They just want that salary and to know that every month this is what is coming in. The second kind of professional is what I call hybrid. So you have your salary job, you have your career, you have something that brings in constant income that you can bank on, But you're prepared to take risks. You're prepared to say, oh, let me try this. Let me sell that. Let me take advantage of the internet. Let me do coaching on the side. So you're hybrid. You have that secured income. You like that comfort of the salary, but you're prepared to step out of your comfort zone. So I call that hybrid. And then the final one, which is a free spirit. You don't even want to be tied down to any employer. You just want to do your thing. You're very creative. You're very entrepreneurial. You want to have a kind of job where you can travel to Australia and work. You can say, oh, I'm going home to Lorry and work from anywhere with the internet. You're a free spirit. You're very entrepreneurial. That is a free spirit professional. I like to think I'm free spirit, but not yet. I'm not at that level yet. But that is the reason we're saying this, is so that when you know the kind of professional that you are, in rethinking your career, you start to think, how do I like to work? If I like to work and I like the security of a salary, then in rethinking your career, you should be asking yourself, what is it that I can do to ensure that I rise to the top of my career? If you're free spirit, then you must start to think about, how can I take advantage of the internet to enhance my career? Because you want freedom, right? So that is why it's important that you first determine what kind of professional are you, and then you rethink and redesign a career that suits who you are. Again, I would love for some of you to share, if you can, based on what you know of the kind of professional. Use the chat box. I'm curious, how many free spirits do we have here? How many hybrid? How many secured? I see my sister Miriam raising her hand, mashallah. I see, just use the reaction box. Are you hybrid? Are you free spirit? Are you secure? I'm desperately trying to be free spirit, but right now in England, I'm hybrid. Well, alhamdulillah. So now that we understand the kind of professional that we are, the question I want us all to ask ourselves is, why should you rethink your career? It's a fundamental question. Why should you rethink your career? And I'll say, I was just really trying to find data in Nigeria, human resources. I couldn't, so permit me to use data from the United Kingdom. Recently, Adecco did a research in England, and it was shocking. 45% of employees are considering a career change as a result of the pandemic. This is a research from Adecco. Adecco is one of the biggest recruitment companies in the world. And they brought out a research to say that at the moment, in the United Kingdom, 45%, that is almost half of employees are considering a career change as a result of the pandemic. Of the 45 employees are rethinking their careers, they actually use the word rethink. When I saw that, I said, yeah, Bumi is doing something great. Adecco is saying this, that of the 45 employees that are rethinking their career, 16% are already retraining. 29% are considering changing their career once the pandemic has passed. Why do you think this is? Because we've all had time to pause and reflect, especially as Muslim women. We've all had the time to say what is most important. There is no shame in working. I super encourage people to work. But we must always realize we need to balance. I personally am a mother first before I'm an employee. I am a mother first before I'm an employee. So I prioritize my role as a mother before that of an employee. And when we then have jobs that takes us away all the time away from home, I think it's time for us to start rethinking our career. How design a work-life that works for you? Would you consider remote working? Remember, going back to the kind of professional you are, what can some of the things you can do so that that role as a wife, as a mother, does not suffer because of work? Again, it doesn't mean you shouldn't work personally. Work will design that work, rethink your career in a way that serves your ultimate purpose. So how exactly do you start to rethink your career? How do you actually start it? There are many ways, but I just want to share 4 key things with you today in the time that we have. Rethinking your career means to have clearly defined expectations. When I left law school and I got that job earning so much money in 2008, I wasn't asking myself, oh, what do I expect from a career? For me, it was just like, oh my God, this is life. I'm going to Dubai on my own without asking my mommy or dad for a ticket. But I'll encourage us all. We should start to ask ourselves some deeper level questions. What do you want from your career? What exactly do you want from it? Who do you need to become in order for you to have what you want from your career? Say, for example, let's make it practical here. Maybe you want from your career, you want a career that allows you to pay your bills, of course, make money, but also make impact. You want a career that allows you to contribute, to make a difference in the world. That's the kind of career I want. In order for me to do that, then I must ask myself, who do I need to be? It means I need to learn, I need to grow, I need to be a better person. If I can't pour from an empty cup, can I? So I need to develop myself first in order for me to be able to give back. So who do you need to become to have the kind of career you want? What are the options you have? And how is your network going to serve you? Because we don't operate in an island, we need people. How will that network serve you? And as we come into the end of this talk, before I hand over, is a few more questions I want us to talk about. If you lose your job today, or if your business fails, what options do you have to meet your basic needs? Pandemic, COVID has taught us one thing. So many of us, some of us have lost our jobs. Some of us, our salary has been slashed. And sadly, some of us, apart from the salary, we have nothing else. We need to rethink our career. We need to start challenging ourselves. We need to start thinking, my job, that salary we so much love, is no longer a secure form of financial security. We can't put all our resources on that one paycheck because guess what? People are losing jobs. May Allah safeguard and protect us. People have lost jobs in this pandemic. What options do you have? How do you create additional income? Mindset shift. In order to get to that level, there's certain mindset shift. To the young professional here, you are not your degree. So many times I hear professionals, they have a passion for something, but because they studied something else in university, they don't see the connection. Say somebody loves public speaking, but they did engineering. They keep doing CV and looking for a job to work as engineers. When you have a gift Allah is giving you that you can turn to a career, you are not your degree. You're beyond what you studied in university. I studied law. Today I'm teaching business studies because I have a passion for business. I was able to connect it. It took me many years, but we got there. So those mindset shifts are important. Finally, what are those steps? We've talked about different things. We've talked about the kind of professional you are. We've talked about those salary, but what are those key steps if I were to break it down? And I won't go through this because of time. But one thing I would love for you to take away from this is take advantage of the internet. SubhanAllah. Look at us today. 130 people are on this program. 130. I don't know where everybody is joining. Internet, we're connecting. I'm seeing Sister Miriam Lemu that I've watched almost all our YouTube videos. She's here today, SubhanAllah. Somewhere in Nigeria. I'm joining from somewhere in England. My big sister Tope, she's joining from America. Take advantage of the internet. You can have a career where you're teaching online and people are paying. The internet has come to make the world flat. It has come to show you that your career is not tied to your geographical location or to what you studied at the university. You are more than your degree. You are more than your degree. And for my last slide, I want to challenge each and every one of us, myself inclusive, in line with the theme of this conference today that me and our team have put together. What will be your leap of faith? What leap of faith will you take in your career this year? What is that thing that you've been thinking about, but you're so afraid to do? What is that thing you've been thinking about, praying, but you're so afraid? Guess what? Clarity does not come from thinking. We can't think things to find results. Clarity comes from engagement. It comes from taking little action. When I wanted to apply for a job as a lecturer, I had all sorts of imposter syndrome. I was so afraid to go to my LinkedIn and see, she's a lawyer, can she teach business? I tried to deactivate my LinkedIn so they don't say this, they don't say that. But guess what? I went to that interview. I spoke passionately about how entrepreneurship can help the youth because I teach is an access college, not university. university, they're in college. I spoke so passionately about entrepreneurship, how I've started businesses, how I sell on Instagram, despite so afraid that what does a lawyer know about business? But guess what? They gave me that chance because I had a leap of faith. I trusted in Allah. I said, Ya Allah, I want to empower young people. I want to help young people. I want to teach business. That's what like I said, I'm trying to be a free spirit. I'm so hybrid, but my goal is to have my own online business. So that's the leap of faith I've taken this year. And so I'll leave you with this one question. Ask yourself, what is that leap of faith you've taken in your career? May Allah guide us all. Jazakallah khairan for having me. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us. Jazakallah khairan. That was quite inspiring. And of course, I had notes. I took that note. The one thing I want to just talk about is from something you said, that you are more than your degree. And I think that's something a lot of us need to start realizing. A lot of people are doing what they didn't even study. They are using it. That's what they're doing. That's the work they're doing now. So I think that's really important for a lot of people to know that it's not about what you studied in school or what you finished school with. It's about what you do after you finish school. May Allah make it easy for you, man. Thank you so much for that. It's quite inspiring. And also, I can see that there are questions in the Q&A box, but please, I won't be able to read out the questions for her to give a response, so she will just reply the questions in the Q&A boxes. Thank you so much for that. It's quite inspiring. And also, work-life balance, another thing that is really hard for a lot of women to, achieve, especially in this age and time. And may Allah just make it easy for every one of us. Thank you, Jazakallah khairan, for that. Jazakallah khairan. All right, so we'll move on to the interlude. Please, ma'am, can you just help us respond to the questions in the Q&A boxes? We have some questions there.
In the Q&A box. Okay,
yes.
Tell us, how did you stay on course with your passion without having a blueprint for reference enough to be recognized for the value you bring to the table? So much so that an office... Oh, no, that must have been for Aisha. The second one is, tell us more about how you made it. What support did you? I'm not sure this is for me. Do you want to check?
Okay. Yes, I'll check. But we're not even taking them. We're not taking the answers now. So we'll just send them texts much later. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time. Jazakallah khairan. May Allah continue to reward you. And so now we'll take a break. We'll take a break now. I'm sure we are enjoying the sessions and everybody's like, oh, I don't want it to stop. But let's take a break. Let's see how well we know about our religion, Islam. So we'll go and we'll take a break now. And when I mean a break, we're not leaving. We're just having a quick game. And we'll see who knows much about the game. So you can also drop your responses to the questions in the boxes, and then we'll see them and we'll see who answers most of the questions. So are we ready? You can indicate if you're ready in the boxes. Let's see. Are we ready? Are we ready for this? For the fastest finger quiz. Fastest. So now, the first question. Who was the first woman to accept Islam? Was the first person? Who is going to be the first person? Oh, Rukoya B, Khadija, mashallah, Aisha. I can see you're coming after that, but Rukoya seems to be the first person who answered that. Rukoya B, Khadija, mashallah. All right, so let's go to the next slide. Answer Khadija. So how many prophets' names were mentioned in the Quran? Fastest finger. How many prophets' names? So we have 25 for Mutmaina. 25, okay. Okay, I can see a lot of 25s. All right, so let's see the answer, 25. So Mutmaina was the fastest this time, mashallah. All right, so next question, please. What chapter of the Quran was named after a woman? What chapter of the Quran was named after a woman? Okay, Adeshawa has Maryam. Okay. Suratul Maryam from Adesha was the fastest this time. Okay, next question. How many Arabic letters has 3 dots in them? How many Arabic letters has 3 dots in them? Kemi A. Okay, Kemi asked 4. She was first person to respond 4. To give her response, and she said 4. Okay. All right, can we have the answer, please? 2. So 2. Mashallah. Mashallah. All right, so the next question, please. All right, we know those who used to attend DTI. We will know them today, and those who don't used to attend and just attending for the first time, we will know today. What was the theme of DTI 4.0? Fastest finger first. Theme of DTI 2.0. All right. All right, can we see has anybody answered? Has anybody given the right answer? All right, transforming societies through active youth engagement. Transforming society through active youth engagement. Okay, I'm seeing a lot of D. All right, so people are just dropping their responses. Oh, someone said leap of faith during unprecedented changes. That's the theme for this year. Mashallah. All right, thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for that. I hope now we are all geared up for the next speaker, because now we'll be going on to the next speaker for today, and that's the person of Biswa Ansar. Yes, so are we ready for her? Are we gingered? Can I have responses in the boxes, please? In the Q&A boxes or chat boxes, can you let me know if you're gingered? Are we gingered? Are we really gingered? And we can also drop like comments, thoughts on the lecture, on the speeches so far, what we've learned, what we've gained, and what we feel like, we want to learn more about. We could also drop that in the boxes. So let us know. Wow. Okay, I can see a lot of, yes, absolutely, ginger, that's the spirit. All right, more of that before we go forward to the next speaker, more of that. I want to see more of that. Am I going to get more of that? We have over 100 people on this chat. I'm hoping I will see like 50. That's my sis. All right, so you're ready for the next lecturer. MashaAllah. Okay, so MashaAllah, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you all so much for your responses. Yes, we are. Yes, MashaAllah. All right, so now we'll take the next speaker, Bisma Anwar. So I'll read out our profile. Bisma Anwar is a licensed mental health counselor who holds a Master of Education in Psychological Counseling from Teachers College, Columbia University. Our area of expertise include depression and anxiety, stress management, cognitive behavioral and dialectical behavioral therapy. Bisma has extensive experience counseling children, teens, and adults from diverse backgrounds and helping them deal with various life issues. Bisma currently works at Mount Sinai Hospital in the psychiatric department as a therapist. And then she'll be taking us through the topic, Pathway to Self-Reliance. Can you hear me? Assalamu alaikum. She'll be taking us through the topic, Pathway to Self-Reliance, finding courage to take the next bold move. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Are you there, ma'am? Assalamu alaikum. Nice to have you.
I'm so excited to be here in New York. That's where I'm located, and
Hey.
and share that here. And all right. So as it was said, my topic is Pathway to Self-Reliance, finding the courage to make the next bold move. And looking at this from what we would say a mental health lens, the psychological meaning of self-reliance, right? Like, what is that? Because there is like a usual like dictionary meaning for self-reliance. But when we look at it from a place of mental health and psychological perspective, we realize that it's a reliance on internal resources to provide life within coherence, meaning, and fulfillment. So this is the internal resources that we talk about, is having to do more with our mental health and being able to actually touch base with that part of ourselves that might be struggling, or being able to fill in those gaps inside ourselves where we feel like we need to make, it's a lot easier to work on things from the outward side, right? To be able to move into action, to be able to do things. But sometimes there are certain things that are holding us back, and we sometimes can't even verbalize them. Sometimes we're not even aware of them. And that is one of the things that I think is really great about being in therapy and being able to actually try to work through these things. And you don't have to just go to therapy. You can actually just ask yourself some really important questions. So I think with that in mind, I'm going to move on to what are some other words when we think of self-reliance, right? Like looking more at this word. What is it? It's about our self-worth, right? How do we value ourselves? What is the worth that we put on ourselves, on our words, on our actions? And how that is incredibly important. How we see ourselves, our level of confidence, it's the thing that can help us drive through and push through, whether it's some kind of challenge, whether it's working towards our goals, whether it's being able to, address certain issues that might be coming up, certain situations that we have to deal with in our lives, right? This past year of being in a pandemic has really, really challenged us in so many ways. A lot of us have had to dig really deep to get through this time. There have been a lot of dark moments, but our self-worth is what we really feel like is our own potential, being able to believe in ourselves. Self-expression, being able to be open about our feelings and emotions. There's a sense of vulnerability there. A lot of people really struggle with that. They feel like they can't really be open, even with the people that they're closest to. They can't really tell them how they're feeling. What happens is that then we suffer in silence if we don't share it with anybody, right? It sort of builds up within ourselves. So being able to have that self-expression is super important. Resilience, right? Resilience. This is a really, really strong word. This is a word that I feel like applies to every single one of us because we've gotten through 1 year of a pandemic. We are all resilient. We are all still here. We are all still living. We are fighting. We are surviving. We are thriving. That is something that's really important because a lot of my clients come to me and they're like, I didn't do anything. Like, I've been so low in my motivation. I haven't been able to do anything. I've only gained weight over this past year. I've not been able to do anything else. And I have to tell them, I want you to stop right now. I want you to think about this. We've been in the middle of a pandemic. What would you have achieved during this time other than survival, other than just getting through? We have to realize that we don't have unlimited resources within ourselves, right? Being able to survive through this past year, every day has been a test, right? Every day has been a challenge because we are not living the way that we've lived before. This is a completely different experience from what we've ever experienced in our lives. And we've all had to tap into our resilience to get through it. So I tell everybody, if you feel like you haven't achieved anything in this past year, if you feel like you're stuck and you're stagnant, that's okay. You're still here. And, if you're here with us today, then that means that you're ready to kind of move forward and do something. And you're in that thinking to action stage, right? And that is amazing to be able to find yourself here after this this really difficult year. Self-acceptance. That's also part of what I'm talking about as well, is that there's this part of ourselves that is able to accept our own limitations, right? Some of us have some particular strengths, and some of us don't have those strengths, right? We have other strengths. So being able to actually tap into what we have, and accepting that we won't have everything. We'll always have some certain strengths, and being able to accept what our strengths are and what our limitations might be is part of self-acceptance, is being able to just understand ourselves better. It's about being able to put ourselves in situations where we thrive, as opposed to, looking down on ourselves and feeling like, well, I wasn't good enough for this. I wasn't able to do this. It's about flipping it around and saying, no, I accept myself for who I am. I know my strengths. I know my weaknesses. I acknowledge them, and I continue to move forward. This is not stopping me from who I want to be and what I want to do. And it's being able to rise to a challenge, at the same time acknowledging that sometimes things don't work out how we feel. But if we have that sense of self-acceptance, that's really what keeps us going. That keeps us steady. That keeps us strong. Some examples of self-reliance: having independent thought, being able to think for ourselves, individuality, having our sense of identity being strong, and being able to work towards your goals. Being able to identify what are the things that are most important to you, and being able to go after them. So these are things that are specific to self-reliance and being able to understand it. So looking at each of these individually: independent thought, believe in yourself. Remember what you have gone through, what you have dealt with, what you have done in the past. Sometimes that is what's the most helpful thing. Sometimes when we're having a low moment, to remind ourselves of the things that we have done in the past is a great way to bring ourselves back up. To be able to remind ourselves, because we often forget, when our negative thinking kicks in, then that's it. It's like sometimes you find yourself, it's like a downward spiral. You have one negative thought, and then you're constantly, you're just going down. You go down the rabbit hole. Stop. Don't go down the rabbit hole. Flip it around. Go towards more positive thinking. Remind yourself of your strengths and your abilities, and believe in yourself. Believe that you can do this. Believe that you know your strengths and limitations, and believe that you can do your best. The ability to think autonomously. This is a really important one. Of course, we always have family and loved ones, friends, people that are really important to us. We like to, agree with them, right? We like to, sometimes they influence our thoughts. Sometimes we go to them for advice. But we should also have the ability to know our own minds. That doesn't mean we can't go to someone for advice, but it's the fact that we need to be able to understand what is most important to us. So we can take advice from people, we can take guidance from people, but at the end of the day, we need to have confidence within ourselves that we know what we want, right? It's being able to tap into that part, like, this feels right to me. This feels good to me. And being able to hold that for ourselves, being able to have that confidence, right? Don't hold back. Don't hold back, meaning speak your truth. Be honest with yourself and be honest with the people in your life. So the first part is being honest with yourself, though. Being able to understand yourself before you expect other people to understand you, right? It always starts from within us, from our internal strength and from our own independent ability to believe in ourselves, ability to think for ourselves, and being able to let that be what is the truth. What is it that I need to say to myself and to others? and not being afraid of that. A lot of times we become very afraid when we are thinking something that's different from what the people around us are thinking, right? Sometimes we feel like we start to question ourselves. We're like, well, you know, everyone has this opinion and I have something different. And that's when we start to like doubt ourselves. Don't let that self-doubt creep in. Believe in yourself. Understand yourself. Inner confidence. Being able to build that confidence within ourselves is so important because that's what helps us tackle all the challenges in our lives. Being able to build that up, being able to constantly remind ourselves of what we've done in the past, being able to hone in our ability to be like, well, you know, recognizing that I have confidence, I have the ability to do these things. I just need to push through any barriers that might come up. So it's that level of awareness for within ourselves that's really important. Individuality. Having our own individual strength of self, solving our own problems, being able to work through making decisions, right? That is sometimes something that can be really challenging. Like I said before, it's okay to go to other people for advice and for guidance. Sometimes it's better to do that and to figure things out from that perspective. But at the end of the day, we need to have the ability to solve our own problems. We need to be able to think through an issue and make a decision. And if we feel like we don't, if we feel like we constantly doubt ourselves, that becomes a real problem. That is really challenging because even if we want other people's advice, they don't know what's going on inside of us. They give advice from their perspective. We might have a different perspective. We might be thinking differently. We might have something else in our minds. Nobody can read our mind, right? Only we can read our own mind. But we have to do that in order to be able to make the decision that feels right to us. So I would say take advice, you know, go to other people with your problems, but at the end of the day, know what it is that you want. Understand and work through it. It doesn't mean that you're going to have the answer right away. That is why it's so important to be having this constant introspection, this constant process. And therapy is a way to channel that. Therapy is working with someone to help facilitate that inner dialogue. I always say to my clients, I'm helping you realize your own potential. Like, I'm not here to give you advice. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm just here to help facilitate your ability to be able to do that for yourself. So that is always my ultimate goal for my clients, is to be able to understand yourself better, to be able to figure out what is it that you want. What is it that at the end of the day you find happiness, right? Finding happiness within. You know, sometimes you see people's lives from the outside, they look perfect, you know, and then sometimes they tell you something about themselves, or you hear something about them and you're like, really? Wow, I didn't see that. I would never have imagined that. I would have never thought that this person had been through something like that, you know? So we really don't know. We could present a picture, or other people can present a picture that seems perfect. But the happiness is really to be found within ourselves. Is whether or not anybody else thinks it, it matters what we feel on our inside, you know. And on the outside, it can seem like we have everything, but on the inside, if we don't feel it, then it doesn't mean anything. Those outward things, there's no value in that. So I think that sometimes we surround ourselves with these comforts and these luxuries and these great things, which, you know, society tells us we need to have, and yet we're not happy. It's because we didn't really listen to ourselves. We didn't really make our own decisions. We made them with other people in mind. Being able to accept ourselves. Self-acceptance is the most difficult thing. You know, whenever I'm talking to my clients, and we talk a lot about validation, being able to validate another person's experience and perspective, being able to say, well, that sounds really difficult. Like even if we have not gone through the same thing, to have the ability to understand, not that we need to agree with the other person. We just need to be able to understand what they've been through or what they're going through, and being able to validate that experience. When we start talking about self-validation, the ability to do that for ourselves, they have such a difficult time. They're like, no, it's so easy to validate someone else, but I can't validate myself. Because our internal messages to ourselves are sometimes really mean and very negative. We say things to ourselves that we would never say to someone else. You know, these are the things that we actually start from a younger age, telling ourselves these negative things. And it becomes that automatic thought. It becomes that like negative inner voice. Every time we feel like we're trying to work on something or doing something or propelling ourselves towards something, that voice comes in, that negative voice that pulls us back, that makes us feel like, no, I can't do this. I don't have the ability to do this. Working towards your goals, being able to take the steps to achieve your goals, being able to actually break things down, being able to recognize what are I always start with short-term goals. I always say, like, let's think about what are some short-term goals that will help you move towards your long-term goals. Because in therapy, we always look at what is the current situation. Because if you are feeling depressed, if you are feeling overwhelmed, if you are feeling burnt out, if you are feeling tired, if you're feeling stressed, you are not going to be able to take those steps, right? And of course, you're not going to be able to make any leaps and bounds. We're going to start with taking small steps, daily steps, to be able to work towards your long-term goal. We're going to start with the short term. We're going to start with your mental health. We're going to start with helping you feel better in your day-to-day life. Cause and effect, right? Understanding that there's always a cause to how we're feeling, to what we're doing. You know, we talk in therapy, we talk a lot about the relationship between our thoughts and feelings and how one impacts the other. And how it's not always that the thought comes first. Sometimes the feeling comes first, which leads to the thought. Sometimes the thought comes first, which leads to the feeling. And being able to understand that the situations or whatever is coming up in our lives, that's not the thing that we have control over. But we do have control over our thoughts and feelings. And being able to understand more of that cause and effect really helps us, because then we can think about changing, right? I always say it starts with awareness. We need to be aware of ourselves first, of our internal struggles, of how we are struggling with our mental health. We have to start with that awareness and recognition, and that is when we can actually move towards our goals. Being true to yourself, being true to who you are as a person, and not changing anything about yourself to suit someone else. Being able to hang on to your morals and values and the person that you are strongly in the face of working towards your goals. Not thinking that you need to change yourself to be where you want to be. No, you're going to make that work for you. You're not going to work for that thing. Being able to bring yourself back to that feeling of everything, like I was saying, the inner confidence piece, right? The self-reliance. It's all about that. It's all about being who we are, accepting who we are, acknowledging who we are, and staying true to that. Because that is what makes us unique.
Wow.
So, sorry, go ahead.
Yes, go on. But yes, go on. We're running out of time. But you can
okay. I will start. Sorry. Once I get started, I was thinking about that. I was thinking how much time I have. All right, so
Yeah.
just a little bit left. So finding the courage. Now where we are is finding the courage to take the next bold move. So very quickly, what is courage? It's feeling fear, yet having the courage to act. Following our heart, facing the adversity, getting out of your comfort zone. That's something that I say a lot to my clients. Get out of your comfort zone. It's so easy for us to just stay on the safe side of everything. Just stay where we are. But what happens? We never make a change. We stay stuck in our old patterns. A lot of the time, those are negative patterns. Negative patterns of thought, negative patterns of behavior, negative feelings. But what happens is when we get out of our comfort zone, we actually push ourselves to be different, to do different, to make a change. So, and facing adversity is part of that, right? Courage, understanding that we will always have some fear, something holding us back, but we have to really understand that this fear is the fear of the unknown. What is the worst thing that could happen? You know, that's oftentimes when I have a client who feels afraid of doing something, I'm like, what's the worst case scenario? Let's talk about it. And then oftentimes we figure that that worst case scenario is actually not going to happen. The possibility of that happening is actually next to nothing. It's really just a manifestation of the fear in our minds that makes us think that things are going to be worse. So what I'm going to leave you all with is that question, right? What will be your bold move, right? What are the next steps to get you closer to your goal? What are you going to do when you're feeling afraid, but you're still choosing to act? Identify what is holding you back and tackle it head on. That's it. Like just recognize what that thing is and remove obstacles. Get the obstacles out of your way. Remove the barriers that are getting in the way constantly of you being able to act on what you want to do. And being able to just not hold back, right? Speak your truth. Being able to just keep it going, keep it moving. And I will leave you all with some words of wisdom. When I started looking at the self-reliance, and I found that Ralph Waldo Emerson, he wrote a lot about self-reliance. And so there's a few quotes from him. A hero is no braver than an ordinary man, but he is braver 5 minutes longer, right? And that has to just do with that fear piece that I was talking about, right? Being able to have the fear and yet being able to have the courage to keep moving. Nothing can bring you peace but yourself. Nothing can bring you peace but the triumph of principles. Your principles, who you are as a person, your morals, your values. That is what brings you peace at the end of the day. Your own ability to recognize who you are, your inner strength, your reliance, your resilience, your ability to, meet obstacles head on. And this quote from Nelson Mandela, I learned that courage was not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it. The brave man is not he who does not feel afraid, but he who conquers that fear. Thank you all so
Mind
much
blowing.
for the opportunity.
Mind blowing. That's all I can say. It's like it felt as though you were touched to my soul. I felt it within, and I think this is really amazing. And then lots of people like with me. I can see comments saying, I'm so glad. I'm so glad that we had this session. So glad. So we have a comment. Someone has a question or two people. So we'll just quickly take that. All right. So let me read out the question. So we have a question from Fatima Michelle. She says, looking at the Islamic perspective, when you want to make a decision and seek wise counsel, and seem like a winner, how do you still stay true to yourself in this case after performing this istikhara and seeking wise counsel? Did you get that question? So that's the question.
Yes, I did. So I think, obviously there is a purpose behind this istikhara, right? There is, and I think that's where we have to, really be clear to ourselves. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Yes. So I think what it is that, you know, when you're doing istikhara, you have to have a clear sense of what you're asking for. You know, you have to have that clear intention in your mind. You know, what is it that you want to get out of this? And oftentimes that is, you know, you want the counsel, you want to get guidance. I think you have to also then realize that if that's what you're doing, then you're accepting that guidance, right? And that's something that can hopefully bring you peace. Because obviously, like when I'm sharing what I mostly shared, I'm talking about the mental health perspective. But when we bring in our spirituality, right, our sense that obviously we ask Allah for advice. And of course, we can always do that. And He brings that into our hearts. So being able to sort of connect our mind and our heart can sometimes make an effort. It has to be, we have to push ourselves. So maybe that's not the only thing, but it's also thinking through for ourselves too about like what our intentions are. What is it that we really want? So I often feel like it's better for us to process through our own thoughts and feelings first before moving towards an istikhara. Because if we feel like we're very unclear, I feel like if there's too many questions on the table, then it's harder to then feel more clear after you've done an istikhara. I hope that makes sense. And I hope that was the premise of the question. I don't know if I'm
Yes,
part of
yes, it is. Yes, it is. It is. That makes sense. All right, I have another question here, and okay. So I have another question here. You mentioned that we should listen to ourselves and make our own decisions without considering anybody else. Manage to do this without coming off as selfish. That's the second question.
So can you repeat that one more time? Your voice went in and out a little bit.
Okay, so you mentioned that we should listen to ourselves and make our own decisions without considering anyone else. But how would women who have kids and husbands manage to do this without coming off as selfish? That's the question.
Yeah, that's a really great question because, you know, a lot of times, one of the things that I talk a lot about with my clients is the idea of self-care. And a lot of people view that as being selfish. And I always say that self-care is not selfish. Our being able to look after ourselves is not selfish. And the reason why that is because if we are looking after ourselves, you know, it's not that we're ignoring the needs of others. Of course, if you have needs that your children, your family has, there are certain responsibilities that are on you. Of course, you have to keep up with those responsibilities. You cannot walk away from those responsibilities. But I think trying to find the right time, you know, trying to think about, well, this is a goal that I have, but this is not the right time to do it. But also then not letting yourself off the hook either. Being able to actually plan for the future. You know, being able to think about, like like my daughter was younger and then I wanted to go back to school. I wanted to get my master's in mental health. And I waited till she was a little bit older to be able to do that because I felt like I could balance it better. You know, so I think we really all have to ask ourselves, right, with whatever responsibilities we have, can we balance it right now? If not, I will say, don't throw it away. Put it on the shelf for a little bit, but take it out again. You owe it to yourself. You owe it to yourself to do something that you really want to do, to be able to go after your goals too. That's just as important. You know, I think especially for children to see their moms doing something, you know, going back to school, you know, picking up her career, doing something different. You're such a great role model for them. You know, especially the girls, especially our daughters. They see that. They think that, you know, this is not it. This is not the only thing that I have for myself. You know, this is not my only role to be a wife and a mother and a caretaker. I can be more than that. And I think, you know, we can really inspire the next generation by showing them that we really can do things. And age doesn't matter, where you are at in your life doesn't matter. It's what matters is that this was important enough for you to go after it.
All right, thank you so much. So we're just going to take one more question. There's so many questions here, but we'll just take one more question. How can I control my thoughts, particularly negative ones? That's the last question we'll be taking.
Okay. All right. Yeah. That's a very good question, because that's something that I sort of, you would say, day in and day out, this is the thing that people are really struggling with, especially right now. And there is a bit of a process. I will not say that this happens overnight, but we have what's called cognitive behavioral therapy. Some of you might have heard of it. It's CBT for short. And the idea behind these concepts is to be able to change our thoughts from negative to positive, but also understanding that first we need to start recognizing what the negative thoughts are, and being able to understand that what is underneath the negative thoughts. What's underneath the negative thoughts are these core beliefs that we have about ourselves. These ideas, these things that are, you could say they're like a theme. You know, when we have, for example, when we have low self-esteem, we don't believe in ourselves. And so whenever anything happens or anything is asked of us, that negative voice comes in, and you'd be like, oh, well, you're not good enough for this. But understanding that underneath that negative thought is our own low self-esteem. So we work on the core issue to help with the negative thoughts. We work on the low self-esteem, and how we do that is we start to look at what is making us feel this way. It's always going back to that cause and effect, thinking about what triggers us to feel this way. Maybe it's something that happened when we were really young and we didn't actually realize. That's part of, I think, what's really great about therapy, is being able to make these connections from oftentimes from when we were younger, things that happened, things that influenced us, things that caused us to get these core beliefs about ourselves. Because these don't just build up in a day. These are years and years and years of us looking at ourselves in a particular way. So those core beliefs are what we really need to work on. And so I say that it always starts with awareness. Start to catch yourself every time you have a negative thought. Write it down. I want you to question that thought. I want you to reality check that thought. You know, when, let's say that you have a test coming up, very simple example. You have a test coming up, you're like, I'm going to fail this test. Why? Why am I going to fail this test? Did I not study for this test? Have I not passed tests before in the past? Why do I feel like I'm going to actually fail this test? I actually studied for this test. So in reality, this negative thought is not true. It's not valid. So we need to invalidate these negative thoughts. And it always starts with awareness. So next time I would say, like, I think journaling really helps with this, is being able to write down the negative thoughts and being able to question them. Don't let them just sit there in your mind and go on a loop, you know, that negative loop in our minds, right? Don't let that happen to you. Stop the process. Stop that from happening. And challenge yourself.
Thank you. Jazakallah khairan. May Allah continue to increase you in knowledge. Thank you. Absolutely. Now we move to the fourth speaker. Thank you so much. Thank you. All right, now we move to the fourth speaker, and that's the person of Maryam Lemo. For maybe a lot of people who don't know her, I'm also going to read out her biography as well for us to get to know her better. So we have Maryam Lemo, and she's an international speaker, an adept seminar and workshop facilitator with a career spanning over 3 decades. She's currently the head of administration and resource management at New Horizons College, Minna, Nigeria, a faith-based school. She's also one of the directors of ProStat Consultants, a capacity building consultancy firm based in Nigeria. Mrs. Lemo has traveled around the world delivering seminars on a wide range of topics, including team audience identify a sense of purpose and direction in life. and the positive impact actually. Why it is not enough to remain in your comfort zone. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you so much. Oh my God, Bindi, why did I accept this invitation? I am the last speaker after this amazing panel, mashallah. All right, and I see it's time for prayer, so I am going to whiz through my topic because I think the others have done more justice to this event. However, let me dive right in. Have a few questions before, and just feel free to comment in the comment section, in the chat section, if you hear anything that sounds familiar. Now, do you ever sit around admiring others, following others, giving them a thumbs up and a likes, wishing that you could be doing the same thing they're doing, wishing you had what they have? Yes. Okay, great. Kemi has said yes. Awesome. Lola, you too? Oh my gosh. That's right. Now, I am going to talk to you about living your life deliberately, being in charge, being the driver of your life, not the passenger of someone else's. I'm going to talk to you about creating your own story and stepping out of your comfort zone so that life doesn't happen to you. You make life happen by Allah's will. Now, if you apply all the things that have been shared so far, these lessons from the amazing speakers before me and the few tips I will be sharing with you, you are going to be so busy evolving into the best version of you that you won't have time to waste on frivolous things. Your life will have more meaning. You're going to go to bed looking forward to waking up in the morning. Your mind will open up to a world of possibilities, of transformation beyond recognition. Wallahi, everything I'm saying is possible, but the key thing is applying. So I want you to focus on certain areas of your life that if you can take charge of, if you can get in control of and get in order, you will find new meaning to your life. You will find peace and true happiness. And inshallah, you will find contentment. So you are about to open up a new chapter of personal transformation and self-evolution. You are going to take charge of you and create your story. Let me tell you something about me that really helped a lot. Now, I used to sit around admiring others. I was a bystander. I would be wishing, if only I wish I could, I wish I was, I wish I had. How many of you are like that? I always dream and have expectations for myself, and then I crash as soon as I start to take off in my mind, not even physically. So, but one day I listened to a talk just like this, and you know what I was asked? You are sitting there wishing you could, wishing you had, wishing you could do. So who said you can't? Who said you don't have it? I had to stop and think, and I was like, you know what, like Bisma just said, you know, it's about the thoughts in our minds, you know, what we tell ourselves. But did somebody actually stop and ask or say to us, girl, you ain't got it? Sometimes we look at others, what they had, and we wish we had the same. And many of us feel that way. One of the biggest ways we can kill our self-esteem, our spirit, is when we start comparing ourselves to other people's lives and everything they're doing. That's why today I do not follow people that aren't going to help me grow or inspire me. So the first advice I'm going to give you is go back to that phone of yours and start unfollowing sites on social media that are empty, that focus on gossip, that focus on people showing off, you know, their highfalutin lifestyle that they're living. Consider it a waste of life, not just a waste of time, because our time is our capital. Imam Ghazali put it so perfectly. Our time is the capital we use to interact in this world. So if you follow those living the high life, you know, with their fancy cars, the fancy homes, their image of a perfect family, the exotic destinations they've been to, their so-called successful lives, all of a sudden, we're no longer good enough. We look in the mirror, we don't like what we see. Our car isn't fancy enough. Our home isn't fine enough or big enough. Sometimes we even get embarrassed by our family. We don't want to be seen out with them. Our food doesn't taste as good. Our wardrobe isn't good enough. So please, the first advice, stop following and liking folks who aren't going to take you anywhere, all the while making yourself feel inadequate, insecure, envious, and discontent. And don't forget that what we see them show us is just what they have chosen to show us. They may be miserable, but they are presenting to the world this perfect image. Today, I only follow people who will inspire me, motivate me, move me, uplift me spiritually, emotionally, and mentally. And I want you to stop reading and admiring other people's success stories while you neglect yours. Yes, be inspired by these stories, but focus on one thing. You need to trust me. You are it. You are the story. The grass may not actually be greener on the other side. So focus on taking care of your grass, your side of the garden. Focus on tilling your soil, fertilize your mind, add nutrients to your thoughts, add water and sunlight to your soul, and remove the weeds, all those negative thoughts, and you will watch yourself flourish and blossom. Don't compare, and don't ever believe you are average, because what you believe will be exactly what you predict. What you have as your thoughts in your mind will become a reality. I love this quote that says, if you think you are, or if you think you are not, you are right. So whatever you believe becomes the reality. You will thank yourself a year from now for the decisions you take today. Trust me on this. So make that decision. There was a man who went with his son one day to the zoo. And as usual, you go to the zoo, you see all these animals caged up. And the birds were caged up, the monkeys, the lions, the crocs, everything were caged up. But as they got to the main courtyard of this zoo, they saw this huge, ginormous elephant. And he had this very thin rope tied to his leg. And the man grabbed his son and started heading for the exit gate. But as he was getting to the exit, he saw the zookeeper. And he's like, what on earth is wrong with you? You've got monkeys and birds caged up, and this big elephant is there with just this thin rope, holding him to the ground. And the man told him to calm down. And he told him the story of the animal. This elephant came in when it was just a baby. And that same rope was tied around his leg. And he tried to push and pull and cut loose. Unfortunately, that rope was stronger than it was. And what would happen is his leg would start bleeding, and the pain became too difficult to bear. As the years passed by, the elephant stopped trying to break loose from that rope. Now, some of us are like that elephant. We have ropes that are tying us down. Now, that rope obviously wasn't what was holding the elephant down. It was the ropes tied in its mind. So we have ropes that are tied so tightly in our minds. Ropes where we believed somebody who told us we couldn't do it. Or ropes when people laughed at us, at our efforts. Ropes where we failed at something and we gave up. Where we felt others were better than us. Ropes where we believed people have an advantage over us. Ropes of negative self-talk. But it is time to wake up and take charge and cut those ropes. Yes, I want to draw your attention to the voices in your head that are talking and running in the background behind the scenes. Voices of negative self-talk. And this can affect your life and cripple you in a very negative way. Sometimes this negative self-talk is ingrained in us from childhood, and we actually start to believe they are true, especially labels. Labels that we were given by our loved ones, our teachers, friends, or even labels we gave ourselves, such as, this one is slow, or she's the quiet one, she's the antisocial one. Oh no, that one is stupid. This one is weak, she's weak in maths. This one's the stubborn one. Oh no, she's very naughty. She's the rascal. I remember hearing someone describe their last born, because they hadn't planned for another child, that this one was the accident. Yeah, I know, you can imagine how that feels growing up. This one's the greedy one. This one's the clumsy one. This one has no ambition. Oh no, she's the fat one. She's the loser in the family. Now remember, your thoughts can make or break you. We are a product of our beliefs. And our thoughts slowly seep into our actions. They become habits, and they end up defining us. So do not allow negative labels to define you. You have to define you. You have to fight for that. You have to be in control of your thoughts. So be kind to yourself with your thoughts and your self-talk. Folks can call you all sorts of names, but only you can give them permission to do so. Only you can allow those bullets to penetrate. Some folks can actually tell you good things about you. They can tell you, oh, you are so amazing. You're going to do great things. But if you don't tell you that, it's all rubbish. So ask yourself right now, what's holding you back? Is somebody or is something weighing you down? Maybe an experience you had where you tried. Or do you feel you're so used to being seen a certain way that people won't give you a chance? Or they may make fun of your efforts. Or are you just afraid to fail? Remember, it's not about them, it's about you. Sometimes we are our own problem, our own self-saboteurs. Now, we can't unfriend ourselves, but we can unfriend our negative thoughts, our thoughts that are weighing us down. Because if you are not in charge of you and in control of your life, in control of your thoughts, in control of yourself, guess what? Someone is going to tell you that your dreams are useless or stupid, and they're going to live theirs through you. You end up becoming the passenger of someone else's life. So stop overthinking, stop making excuses, stop killing your dreams. You see, your owner's manual said you came perfect. Allah does not make mistakes. He said in the Quran that he created man in the best of designs. In another interpretation, he said he created man in the most beautiful of forms. So you are created exactly as you were meant to be. Whether it's your economic background, the color of your skin, the family you came from, your gender, your ethnicity, whatever part of the country or world you come from, no excuses. Hey, even people with disabilities are living their best life in spite of those challenges. So no excuses. Allah doesn't make mistakes. If you got a problem, fix it. Don't complain and don't be a victim. If you're not part of the solution, then you're part of the problem. If you think you've got it bad, if you think things are really bad for you, trust me, many are out there worse off than you, but they're living their best life. So what are you waiting for? You will thank me later for this. I want to end with a story of the artist and the apprentice. And I share this story a lot because I think it's so perfect. Now, there is this young boy who was taken to a faraway land where there was a master painter, and he went to learn under his wings. And over the years, the boy became extremely good. He was creating magnificent masterpieces. So one day, the master painter invited him and he said, son, I have finished teaching you everything I possibly can. It's now time for you to go out into the real world and create your best masterpiece. So the boy said, but how will I know if I'm really that good? The master asked him to get an easel and get a canvas and go paint his most spectacular piece. And the boy did that. He came back about 3-4 days later with an unbelievable painting. It was so beautiful. So the old painter, the old master painter told him, take your piece to the marketplace, to the entrance, and put it up on an easel. And what I'd like you to do is get a paintbrush and black paint, put it on the floor, and put a card with this instruction. If there is any part of this painting you do not like, put a black dot on it. So the boy was puzzled, but he followed the instruction and he did that. He came at the end of the day. To his shock and dismay, the entire piece was black. He was demoralized, he was deflated, as you can imagine. So he went back, practically in tears, and he said, they hate my work. He said he should calm down. Son, I want you to do another masterpiece, just like the first one. Go out there and paint another magnificent piece. Reluctantly, he followed the same instructions, and he came back with it. He said, go back again to the entrance of the marketplace, put it up on the same easel, and this time around, get a bucket of white paint and a paintbrush. And the instructions should read, if you like any part of this piece of work, put a white dot on it. At the end of the day, he came. To his shock, the entire piece was white. Now, this is quite confusing. So again, he went to his master. He said, I don't understand. Some really, really hate my work, and some really like my work. He said, I've got one more instruction for you. Go paint another beautiful piece, just like the other two. Another spectacular piece. When you're done with that, come with a blank canvas and a second easel and a paintbrush and paint. He now did that. He said, take it back to the marketplace, put the two of them up. For the first one, your own, put it right there. However, leave the blank canvas next to it and this set of instructions. If you do not like any part of this work of art, please create your own masterpiece on this empty canvas. He came at the end of the day. The canvas was blank. He was like, what? I don't get it. So he went back to his master. And what he told him was this. You see, son, in life, some people will love what you do, and some will really hate what you do. They will criticize you, they will condemn you, and they will slander you. But most likely, they will not be able to replicate what you do. So no matter what, let your rule in life be that everywhere you go, in everything you do, you always create your best masterpiece. Now, the world we live in today requires more to us than what we studied, and we've heard others talk about this today. Sometimes your paper qualifications really don't matter. You're not your certificate. Have you thought about what makes you special? What makes you different? Now, no one's gonna do that for you. Sometimes we have goals of what we think our life will be like. Aisha already mentioned today that when she graduated, she thought there'd be a job waiting for her, but there was no job. And this is where I'm about to share with you something that is so important. We are all different and we are all unique. And Allah has blessed us with multiple gifts. Now, our gifts may seem similar to others, but everyone has in them something extra that they can become a master of. Now, as you know, there are many professions out there. There are doctors and there are doctors. There are teachers and there are teachers who take that extra time, who seem just to genuinely care for you. There are mechanics and there are those who take care of your car as if it's their own, their baby. And there are leaders. There are people in every walk of life that are different, that stand out. Now, we all have qualities that for some of us, all we need is just to polish them a bit, to sprinkle a little something extra. And that is what makes us special. That is what makes us stand out. That is what makes us extraordinary. There are some who stand out wherever they are, and I'm sure you know people like that. But why? Because they are using their extra to do something extra. Now, accomplishments don't happen by accident or luck. All those we admire and look up to have done something extra with their lives. They have chosen to be different and unique, to be extraordinary. They have created a signature brand for themselves, so they stand out wherever they go. They represent something. They always give 110%. They set a standard and don't settle. They are unique, not ordinary, because they know we have enough ordinary out there. Now, parts of the requirement of our faith is we pursue personal mastery and professional excellence. I'll repeat that. Parts of the requirements of us being Muslims is that we pursue personal mastery and professional excellence. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, whatever a Muslim does, he should do it with itqan, that's with excellence, and with ihsan, with perfection, and a level of goodness as well. We are all meant to live this life deliberately, with a purpose and a spiritual mission to do it with ihsan, excellence, and with itqan, perfection. So live your life, practice your profession and everything you do, whether it's a lawyer, doctor, a parent, a politician, a teacher, a counselor, whatever it is, whatever office you may hold, everything you do, practice it, perfect it, and polish it the way you would your salat. Yes, you heard me right. Do it with the kind of meticulousness that an act of ibadah done to please Allah deserves. If you are going to be rewarded for something, then do it in a way that is most benefiting of a servant of Allah wanting to please him. Now, there are challenges out there. Let me wrap up. And there are many obstacles, but we need to know that our existence today is not an accident. We are alive today, not by accident. As we know, many of our loved ones have already gone all over the world. So nothing is an accident. Allah doesn't make mistakes. The positions we hold is a trial for us. The families we come from is no accident. We are not just meant to exist, but we are meant to live. And like Bisma said, we are meant to thrive. Our impact goes so much further than we can imagine. So yes, there are obstacles, but there are also many solutions. And if we focus on living our lives with no excuses, that becomes our anthem. And that's what will be our drive. No excuses. Your story isn't unique. Many have been through more difficult trials. But you can either fill in the pages of your story, or you can hand over the pen to someone else. Don't ever give anyone permission to control your life. Don't let anyone dim your light. Your name, your reputation will inshallah outlive you. Be the one that breaks stereotypes. Be the one that changes the narrative. Young girls out there are looking at celebrities as their role models. They are hungry for role models. Can they look up to you? You see, age doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're 14 or 70. This just requires you to do excellence, to be excellent in everything you do. Ihsan and Itkam. So this is your time. Who are you? Many have come and gone. What will your story be? I love this quote that says, I'm not perfect, but I'm a limited edition. So be a limited edition. It's not so much about being the best, but doing your best. So be the best at doing your best. As you become the best at doing your best, folks will start to notice you like The Apprentice. Some will love what you do and some will hate what you do. But in everything you do, create your most beautiful, spectacular masterpiece each and every day, every single time. Let that be your brand. Don't leave your plans and goals and dreams on paper or ideas. Take a leap of faith. I dare you to inspire yourself, and I dare you to inspire others. Don't let another day go by, another week, another month, and another year without filling in the beautiful pages of the story of you. I will end with a poem I love. It's called The Comfort Zone. I used to have a comfort zone where I knew I could not fail. The same four walls and busy work were really more like jail. I longed so much to do the things I'd never done before, but I stayed inside my comfort zone and paced the same old floor. I said it didn't matter that I wasn't doing much. I said I didn't care for things like diamonds, cars, and such. I claimed to be so busy with the things inside my zone, but deep inside I longed for some victory of my own. I couldn't let my life go by just watching others win. I held a breath, and with a step I'd never taken before, I let the change begin, and I took a step with a strength I never felt before. I kissed my comfort zone goodbye and closed and locked the door. If you are in a comfort zone, afraid to venture out, remember that all winners at one time were filled with doubt. A step or two and words of praise can make your dreams come true. So greet your future with a smile. Success is there for you. Jazakumullahu khairan. Thank you so much for having me on this wonderful event. Queen Bee, may Allah make this a witness for you in the life to come, and to all the speakers before me. May Allah bless you for sharing your wisdom and your knowledge with us. Jazakumullahu khairan.
Jazakallah khairan to you. We should be saying Jazakallah khairan to you. That was amazing. Thank you so much for charging us to take that leap of faith. I learned so much. One thing I'm taking away from what you just, the package, because it's a total package you gave us. One thing I'm taking away from that is it's not as much as being the best, but doing your best. Because really that's quite important. And the lost people, especially for perfectionists, they have this thing of, oh, I have to be the best, and it never gets it done. But you're telling us that just do your best and keep doing it. Keep at it. Thank you so much. We allow you to work you. May He bless you and continue to increase you in knowledge. May He grant you everything you desire, inshallah. Amen. And if we have questions, please let's drop them in the Q&A box so we can take them. Let me see if we have new questions in the Q&A box. So we can take your questions. But that was really amazing. Okay, if we don't have questions, let me see. I can see so many comments. A lot of people are saying, definitely leaving my comfort zone, watching out. That's from Aisha. Then we have Bintu saying, Jazakallah khairan. We have Khadija saying, I'm a limited edition. So many amazing words here. Then we have Afsa saying, bye to my fear and comfort zone. Amazing. So a lot of people are charged here, and a lot of people are ready to take that leap of faith. If you have your questions, please drop them in the Q&A box, so we can take them right now, questions in the Q&A box. So let me see if we have new questions. Okay, so let me just take some of the comments while we see if anyone has a question. So I can see, all right. Let me see comments in the chat box. So I can see Allahu Akbar. I can see this was really mind blowing. Thank you so much. I agree as well. This was really mind blowing. Yes, kitchen comfort zone, goodbye. And everything for us, a lot of people. We always, after attending lectures like this, we're usually super charged up and we say, okay, we're going to do this and do that. But afterwards, we seem to forget what we've learned. And so that's my own question. How can we, keep the momentum even after the whole session? How can we keep inspiring ourselves and staying focused and believing that we are actually limited edition?
Beautiful question. Well, studies have shown that if within 48 hours you have not applied new learning, most likely you won't. So I think it's just a decision. Right now, we're still within the first 2 hours, 2.5 hours of new learning. And I would highly recommend you owe it to yourself and you are so worth it. So treat yourself to a whole new world of possibilities. Just make a decision. A lot of us are empty. We want more meaning. We want more fulfillment in our lives. And unfortunately, due to this era we live in of voyeurism, where we are looking and watching others and admiring what they're doing, it really quickly leads to discontent and makes us feel, boy, they have done so much, where do I start? So if we keep looking at that as the standard instead of setting a personal standard for ours, and take baby steps, but take that leap of faith and start now. Don't wait for anyone to give you permission, and don't let anyone dim your lights. Do not dim your own lights. Most often, the reason why we won't take off is the negative self-talks. We second guess. Sometimes we will do the istihara and yet we still doubt Allah, and second guess whether He has put His blessing in what we have prayed for. Like, the answers are right there. He has given you the green light, but yet you still say, is it not? I think some people are waiting for a burning bush, or like my husband, there was a time I was very undecided or indecisive, and he's like, Mariam, it looks like you're waiting for an angel to slap you on the face and tell you start right. So it's like, just do it. Don't wait for a miracle. You are a miracle. You've been given life. You've been given good health, inshallah. Like, I can describe the 101 things wrong with me, but wallahi, I can't even imagine living a life different from what I have today, what I'm doing today. I'm so content. I get migraines, I get massive headaches, I've done 3 back surgeries, I've got some kind of rheumatism going on, I've got plantar fascia. I mean, the list is endless. I'm just like a walking disease. However, I keep thanking Allah. I believe all those, inshallah, will be kafara for me. And I always tell myself it could be worse. And that's what keeps pushing me, like, okay, at least I can walk and I got a big mouth, I can talk. And I love what I'm doing. So, hey, let me try and share the little I've learned. And, there's no excuse. I never got a degree, but I got an education, and I'm still taking tons of online courses, new learning, reading. I've turned my phone into a classroom. And it's always just this hunger and this yearning desire to learn new things and apply it and share it. I keep telling everybody, I want to die empty. I learned a lot from the wonderful people I've been blessed to know, and I continue to learn to add to what gifts Allah has already blessed me with. But I want to make sure I've offloaded it, I've shared it before I die with as many people as possible. So for me, that is what I believe is my calling, to share and empower and uplift. So to remind me constantly, I have the acronym of my surname, Lemo. So L stands for learn, E stands for enlighten, M stands for motivate, and U stands for uplift. So just my name alone constantly is a goal, a reminder. Am I doing any of these things? And if I'm not, then I need to check myself and renew my intention and continue to focus on, this personal evolution, however, inspiring others to do the same. So no excuses, just do it. Just do it.
Just do it. I already have a question, but the question is quite long. Let me see if I can. Okay, so basically the question is, what advice would you give someone who's yet to find their passion or what they want to do with their life? I find myself not being able to sleep peacefully for some time. I have known I have a little interest in things, and I've tried to find out what it is I really love doing. I tried going towards different career paths, doing different things, totally different than what I studied, only maybe to find myself. but I felt I couldn't put in my best. I used the steam along the way. I think that's just similar to the question I asked, that how do you keep the momentum going and how do you keep this out there? So I think
maybe Bisma might be, since she's a professional, may add to this. But you are on track by trying different things. But why don't you take certain personality tests, especially aptitude tests that might lead you in the direction of what you are really already good at? There are things that come natural. Those are all gifts waiting to be unwrapped. So if you ask me, and honestly, I would love if Bisma could add to this. For me, I always say, watch a lot of YouTube videos in line with things that you find interesting or you seem to be passionate about, and you may get inspiration from someone else who's doing it, and you may even do it better than them. I mean, it's not a competition, but you may have already in you that extra, that all you need to do is just polish, and you will find you're able to create a masterpiece with those, that thing you're good at. I watch a ton of TED Talks, especially on the topics I'm passionate about, and I always get inspired. I was like, oh, I love that. Oh, I've got to try that. I do a lot of crafts. I love crafts. I love transforming things. I think it's just like I described, my symbol is the butterfly because of that transformation from going into a cocoon, building within, and then bursting out into the world to make the world a better place by its existence. So for me, I love taking trash and converting it to treasure. So anything that I can see that looks flawed, I love to take it and polish it and change it, transform it. And so this is the kind of stuff that for me really pushes me. But Bisma, I'll shut up so that you can speak. Professional talk.
Everything that you said was, I think, totally spot on. It's about looking for inspiration outside of ourselves when we are having these internal questions, and being able to look at, who are the people that we admire, and being able to find those mentors within our lives. Maybe there's something that we admire about someone around us, something that they do, some quality that they have. Being able to talk to them about it. I always say do research. Like you were saying, Mariam, about YouTube videos and being able to listen to podcasts, reading those self-help books or those skills-based books, and also doing these types of, to be able to just tap into these things. But it's more, I would say, more than the personality tests, I would say do an inventory of your own skills. Decide what were the subjects or the extracurricular activities that you excelled in or you did really well in school? What were some of the comments that you were gotten from teachers and mentors over the years? What qualities were other people highlighting on you? And then asking yourself is are these things tapping into what I want to do? And then being able to kind of doing more research online, thinking about not just I think it's more about what you want to be doing in terms of your life rather than the educational piece. Sometimes you have to find out where you want to go before you can figure out how to get there. So sometimes it's about identifying that long-term goal and then thinking about those short-term goals that come before it. But being able to identify that long-term goal is the most important piece. So a lot of introspection, research, talking to people, and all those things, I think, put you on the right path.
Salam.
Thank you so much.
I'm so sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, sure.
Can you hear me? I really have to leave because I have another 2:30 p.m. So I just want to say thank you so much to everyone, and I'm super honored to be here, and it's been amazing listening to everybody. I do hope everybody gets inspired, inshallah. Thank you so much, Queen Bee, for having me. Thank you to our excellent moderator. I am sorry I have to leave, but I really, really have to go. I look forward to meeting all of you that I've seen on here. Excellent speakers. Excellent. Thank you. I'm inspired, truly inspired. Thank you so much. Have a good day.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time and for joining us. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you. And to all our speakers, Jazakumullah khairan. I'm sure a lot of people are not leaving the way they came. Me, let me talk for myself. I am not leaving the way I came. It's been super positive. I've learned a lot. Yes, I've learned a lot. Personal development, knowing yourself, believing in yourself, taking the bold steps. So many things we've learned today. And may Allah make it easy for every one of us. Jazakumullah khairan. All our speakers, thank you for sharing from your wealth of knowledge. And everybody who has joined us so far, thank you so much for joining in. It's Dare to Inspire 5.0. Thank you all so much for joining. May Allah reward you and make it easy for us to put everything
to practice. It's not enough to hear it and say, oh yeah, mashallah, but also put it into practice. That's the most important thing. May Allah make that easy. Now I would like us to go to the closing prayer or closing remarks, and that will be given by somebody who has also shared our knowledge with us here before. She has shared our knowledge with us here before, and that's the person of Tope Fajin Basic Balogu. But before we go to her, let's just tell you, let me just put it out there, we'll have a poll after this where you can rate the program, the event, tell us what you like, tell us what you don't like, and things you want to see good one. But I'm sure you had an amazing time. Well, I did. And if you had an amazing time, please share it in the chat boxes. Let's see your comments, let's see your feedback. Let everyone know that yes, you are inspired. So share it in the chat boxes. Now let's have Tope Fajin give us the closing remarks and closing.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Can you hear me?
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It's nice to have you here again. MashaAllah.
Thank you. It's nice to be here. This is home for me. This is home. I'm always going to be in this event because Queen B knows I love what she's doing. I had the privilege of being here last year, and somehow all of the speakers except for one is either my sister, my auntie, or something like I've been chatting them. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so inspired. But I want to close by talking about daring, especially during this time of Ramadan. To dare means to be bold enough to do something. And I want to share the story of a young girl that I just met 2 weeks ago. She's 12 years old. Her name is Bushra Yusuf. She lives in one of those dingy places in Lagos. And she's 12 years old. She was, her dad was a teacher at King's College in Lagos. Then he died when she was 6 and left her mom with Bushra and 2 other siblings. Bushra is the youngest. When we were, so I run an organization called United for Kids Foundation. When we were in Preston and we used to have our library programs, we didn't know Bushra because she goes to a school in Lagos that has 3,000 other students. So we didn't know her. But somehow the pandemic happened and just, shut us down. And so we started doing a little program for maybe 10, 20 students a day at the palace of the local ruler in a very, populated area of Lagos. And Bushra would take a bike to come to that palace all the time. I thought she lived in the area, but she doesn't. She lives far away, but she'll take a bike and come there. Bushra is in full hijab, a small child, full hijab and all of that. And she was just brilliant. Every time my team in Lagos would send me the recordings of the day's proceedings, if they asked a question, her hand was up. If they said something, she was responding. This girl was just brilliant. But we couldn't pick her out of 3,000 children until she stepped out, came, hustled her way into our hearts. Let me fast forward the story and tell you that 2 days ago, Bushra did the second stage of the interview that comes with full scholarship of 5 million naira a year at the Waterman College. If you're in Nigeria, you know the Waterman, it's not small money. She is now in the second stage, and inshallah, she will get there and she'll be our first hijabi child that will be in the Waterman on fully funded scholarship. The day before her interview, I told my team to do a video call when they go to her house to prep her. And I saw the place, very modest place indeed, very modest. And I asked this child, I said, I know you miss your dad. So what do you do, what do you do to when you remember him? And she was just looking at me and with tears in her eyes. And I told her, make sure every night before you sleep, you recite Surah to a class for him. And she said that she would. But I also asked them to ask her mom, what would it take? We can take your child to the Waterman and she'll be in the big league, yes. But what would it take for you to, leave this situation and be able to provide for your other children? And she said something that made me think about Allah in a different way entirely in this month of Ramadan. she showed a picture in the corner of the room of her pure water. That's what she sells, pure water. You know, the water in sachet. And she said she makes a profit of 3,000 naira every month. For those of us who are in the US, 3,000 naira divided by 500, that's like some $6 profit or something. And that's the profit that she makes every month. She said if we could give her some money to be able to expand this trade, and you know, everything she was asking for was less than 100,000 naira, about $200. And somebody who has seen the story on social media, I've been talking about this girl for a while. Somebody who has seen the stories had given us 1.5 million naira and said, change the lives of 5 of the kids that you've been talking about. So for each family, we have 300,000. But for her, she's thinking, I'm asking something so huge. I'm asking for something so big. This 100,000, she was like, you know, stammering, and she was like doubting. And she was thinking, no, if I ask for something so big, they're going to, you know, say, oh, we can't afford it, you're so greedy. And of course, we have the money to do that and more, because our ask is very small. And it made me start thinking about my relationship with Allah and the things I don't dare to ask for. That I don't dare to ask for because I think it's too much. I think I'm too old to start a new career. I think I'm too damaged to be that person that inspires. I think I'm too broke to be in the league of these people. I think I'm this and this and this. So I refuse to dare. In this remaining 18 days or so for Ramadan, please dare. Dare to inspire nobody but yourself in the ask that you make of Allah. We don't know if we're going to find another Ramadan. But this time that we're here, ask Allah, Ya Samad, Ya Fatah, Ya Wahab, the one who bestows, the one who opens doors, the one who is dependable. I want you to dare to do something big. May Almighty Allah bless everyone who has spoken, everyone who has listened, and may this be a witness for all of us on the day that it matters most. Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you, my sister, Queen B. Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you so much for that. Please, there to inspire, because we don't know if this will be our last Ramadan. MashaAllah, that's really beautiful. There to ask anything to everything. Even Allah wants us to ask Him during this period. May Allah reward us all abundantly. Amen. All right, so now we'll take the polls. So we'll take the polls. The polls will pop up, and then you would see the questions you need to answer about Dare to Inspire. If you've been inspired so far, you get to answer that. So the polls will come up soon, and then you take them. And you can also share your comments, thoughts on the program in the chat box. Let us know what you feel so far. Do you think it has been amazing? What did you learn today? What's your take home? Well, I came here empty and I'm full. I don't know about you. So you can share experiences so far, but you know, we have so many sisters here coming. We have Linda Kazim saying this is amazing, mashallah. Thank you so much for that. So all right. So many comments. So can we have people please come up? I take the comments. I'll run through the comments. So we have another comment here from Marina Oshoba. DTI has been such a blessing and a joy. Thank you, Bumi, and the team for another hugely successful webinar. Always engaging, always informative, and the speakers, awesome. MashaAllah. Thank you so much for that feedback. It's been a very inspiring session, mashallah. May Allah increase the speakers in beneficial knowledge. Thank you. Amen to that. Amen to that. Let me see other comments so far. Very inspiring. Please don't limit these sessions to Ramadan only. All right. We have thank you at Aisha Ogi. Thank you, Miriam Lemo. Thank you, Fatima, for sharing that. We have that. Then we have, let me see. Okay, we have Marina again saying, this was awesome. Please tell everyone that you are never too old to change. I totally agree. No one is ever too old to change. So keep your comments coming, your thoughts coming, what you think we can do better, and what you think we're doing great right now. Anything you have to say to the speakers, let's know, let's tell them now, because it's been amazing. I've learned so much. So much. In fact, I feel like I'm going to explode right now from all I've learned from the amazing speakers. So share your comments, share what you love about the program, the chat box, and let's see it before the poll comes up. So I have some feedbacks from some of our lectures as well, from some of the talks. We have, okay, I'm empowered, enlightened, and elevated. I have that here. No excuses. I agree. No excuses. Then we have, no one should stop me on my track. Tell them nobody's stopping anyone. I think it's just time we start believing in ourselves and daring to inspire. It's time for us to take charge of our lives. As our speakers have said today, nobody's going to tell you what you are not if you don't allow them to. So it's about you believing in yourself and saying, this is who I am and this is what I can achieve. Know yourself. It's not enough for you to just seek counsel, but know yourself in and out. Find out the things you don't like, the things you like. Oh, this is what I can do. This is what I can't do. And though your talent might seem similar to others, know that you have something extra, so much. In fact, I think like today they just poured out a lot of great things into us, and it's just important that we make use of them and put them into practice over time, not just listen and come here and say, oh yeah, I'm inspired today, and go back to our ways. May Allah make it easy for every one of us. So still drop your comments. Okay, I love every part of this program, mashallah. That's from Rashida. Thank you so much, Rashida. Salam, please, how about the first question to Aisha? Okay, let me see. Oh, but Aisha's left mashallah. Okay, we'll see what we can do about that, but she's left the session now. So another question, okay, I have a comment here. It's my first time, and this is an inspiring, educative, and enlightening session. I pray Allah makes it easy, inshallah. Mashallah, mashallah, mashallah. So the feedback are amazing. Thank you so much for your feedback. So please, can we have the polls come up? The polls coming up soon. All right, so I'll just keep reading through your comments while that comes up. So just send your comments, your thoughts on the program. I have, okay, Salala Yunus is saying, Jazakumullah khairan for having me. Well done to all the speakers. I've learned so much from you all, that you, my dear Auntie Tope. Thank you, my dear Auntie Tope, for the beautiful story. Thank you, Bumi and the team. I have to leave shortly. This has been amazing. Thank you so much for being a part of this program. May Allah continue to increase you in knowledge. Thank you so much for that. And I'll just keep reading some more comments. Okay, some more comments. Don't forget, drop your comments. Let's see them. Let's read them out to people. Let's see what you have to say. I have more comments here. Let's see. So this from, I can see, it says, thank you so much, everyone. May Allah grant us. I think, may Allah grant us, I don't know what you wanted to write there, to witness many more. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you so much for that. You brought on amazing speakers. They were all amazing. I'm so blessed to be here. Thank you. And also, okay, so for the poll now, the polls, we won't have the poll now, so we'll get the poll after the event, so you can just fill that out after the event. Thank you so much, guys. And this brings us to the end of Dare to Inspire 5.0. Inshallah, thank you all so much. Thank you to all our speakers.
Aisha Ogi, Miriam Lemo, Isma Anwar, and everyone who is a part of this live. Thank you so much for being part of this amazing session. And if you have comments, tag them up also personally on Instagram or through other social media platforms. Thank you so much for being a part of this show. And that is it this year. I hope to see you all next year, inshallah. Ramadan Mubarak. Have an amazing Ramadan, and Ramadan food with so much good, so much mercy, importance, and so much grace. May Allah make grant all our ibadah during this month of Ramadan. Amen, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And don't forget to answer the polls after this, so you get the polls, so just answer them, and feedback. We need the feedback so that we can always on the program evening. It will be sent to you all personally, so you can also check your mail to see if you get the polls, and then you can fill it. Please do fill the polls. Thank you so much. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Here comes our beloved Ramadan. Here comes the month of advancement. Imagine with a special curtain. 4 months, it's the most prominent. Ramadan, Ramadan, Ramadan. Entire is giving praise to a Ramadan, this battle incidents. For it surpasses all in its component. In it, people act with conscience. Ramadan, evil doing is given replacement. The devil is rendered impotence. Social violence is tolerant. Alcoholic drinks in internet. Ramadan, I'm celebrating improvement. Numbers of worshippers skyrocket. Up to say everybody wanna repent. Ramadan, people turn polite, even dying pulled up. Receiving is traced up to the highest. What a pity you were not permanent. Beloved Ramadan, we all are endurance, so don't go away. Ramadan, Ramadan, Ramadan. This is our year. Here comes our beloved Ramadan. Here comes the month of advancement. Emerging with a special crescent. Of all months, it's the most prominent. Ramadan, Ramadan. The entire world is giving precedence towards Ramadan, this vital incident. For it surpasses all in its components. In it, people act with conscience. Evil doing is given replacement. The devil is rendered impotence. Social vices are no longer apparent. Alcoholic drinks are given interment. Nearness to God becomes prevalent. I'm up to celebrate improvement. Numbers of worshippers skyrocket. Up to say everybody wanna repent. People turn polite, even thankful that he's giving the strength up to the highest. What a pity you were not prominent. The love from above. We owe you all endearment. So don't go away. Don't go away. Don't go away. Don't go away. The month of forgiveness, Ramadan. The month of salvation, Ramadan. The month of prophet, charity, Ramadan. The month of expecting, Ramadan. We love you, Ramadan. Ramadan. We need you, Ramadan. Ramadan. So don't go away. Don't go away. Don't go away. So don't go away. Don't go away.